There's something magical about biting into freshly baked bread that's coming straight from the oven, and the aroma that can come from your kitchen when you make your own bread. So we're gonna make some soft bread today. So we're going to use, as you can see, white bread flour, and we are going to start by sifting that flour before we start everything. So you're gonna sift about 5 cups of flour. I'll just write the ingredients for you just now. But the reason why I'm using bread flour is because, you know, of the proteins. It contains more protein, and the gluten structure is stronger. You know, it's gonna give you that a strong structure, gluten structure, and you know what, to give you that bounce, that chewy, bouncy texture at the end with that bread. So if you use the normal flour, the cake flour, then it's gonna be more fluffy. You know, if I can put it that way, it's not gonna be the same structure. So these are the ingredients that we are going to use, and please, I'm going to also put them in the description box for you so that you get the list. So go to the description box, you'll also get the ingredients there. So these are the ingredients that I'm going to be using, as you can see there. So I'm going to start first by blooming the yeast to make sure that, you know, it activates before we put it into our mixture. So I'm going to take lukewarm milk, the yeast, and sugar to make sure that I bloom the yeast. So make sure your milk is lukewarm. You can replace the milk with lukewarm water, but with the milk, the reason I'm using milk is because the milk is going to give it the richness. So I also add 2 teaspoons of sugar just to help the yeast ferment and activate. So we are going to cover that, mix all of that together, and then put it aside, cover it and put it aside for about 15 minutes so that it can foam, so that it shows the activation. And then we are going to mix the dry ingredients into a bowl. And then your dry ingredients obviously is the flour, the sugar, the powdered milk, and some salt. And we mix that together. So I'm mixing them before I put in the liquids so that they also incorporate, so that, you know what, they don't separate. You know, if you don't mix them first, you might find that the sugar is concentrated on one side of the dough. So we do that, and then as you can see, after 15 minutes your yeast mixture and milk is activated, and then it's ready now to be put into the dry ingredients. So I'm also gonna put in the melted butter so that, you know, all the liquids go in at the same time. So I'm putting in the butter in there so that all the liquids must go in there. No other reason whatsoever. So I'm going to now put that mixture, the yeast and milk mixture, in there. So it's you know, to hydrate your dough and also to bring in richness, like I said, with the milk. But you can also use lukewarm water to do that. It's just a difference in richness, that's all. So you're gonna mix that first so that everything incorporates first before you go in with your hands. You just wash your hands, make sure you wash your hands, and then you are going to mix that in, and then make sure everything incorporates. Once it comes together, then we're gonna transfer the dough to a floured surface, because we need to start kneading the dough. Now we start kneading the dough. So we are going to knead our dough for about 8 to 10 minutes, just to develop the gluten. The reason why we knead the dough is because we are trying to develop the gluten in the dough. So as you are busy kneading it, you are making sure that the ingredients are even throughout the dough, but also to develop the gluten so that the bread can have a lot of structure. You understand? So that's the reason why you need to make sure you knead it for about 8 to 10 minutes. So as you are kneading it, as you see, I floured the surface so that it doesn't get sticky while I'm busy incorporating a little bit of the flour that I had put on them. But it mustn't be more than quarter cup. It's about a quarter cup of that, and then as you are kneading it, and then you're incorporating that little flour so that the stickiness is going to disappear as you are busy kneading it, until you get to a point where it doesn't stick to your hands anymore and it's sort of like elastic. then you know it's ready. You know your dough is ready. And then I put a little bit of oil on my hands and on the dough, and then in the bowl that I'm gonna put it in. So I put oil just so that it mustn't stick, so I'm going to do that because we need to let it rise to put it in a warm surface. So what I usually do, if the temperatures are low, like now it's winter and the temperatures are a little bit low, so I put it in the oven. So sometimes I preheat the oven a little bit just so that it gets warm a little bit, and I leave it to cool down a little bit, just to get to that warmth but not hot, and then I will put it in there so that it gets that warmth, to be able to rise. So the reason why we let our dough rise is to let the yeast ferment further, and it's going to create air pockets inside so that it gives that bread, that airy texture, at the end. So you need to let it rise to double in size. As you can see there, I let it's about an hour or 40 minutes to an hour. It depends on the temperature that you're gonna let it rise in. So if the temperature is and you cover it, then it's less time, like 40 minutes is enough, but about an hour would be sufficient. So once it rises, as you can see, I'm beating up the air out, and then I'm going to knead it for the second time, just a little bit to knead it before I start cutting it. And then that was the first rise. You let it rise for the first time, and then you are going to let it rise for the second time before you put it into the oven. It's going to give you a nice, soft, fluffy texture at the end. So that's why we need it to rise for the second time. So as you can see, I put it again on a floured surface, and I want to cut it. So this dough can give you 3 small loaves of bread. This dough, the measurements can give you 3 loaves, mara small ones. So 3 small loaves, or you can have 1 big loaf. It depends on you and how if your family is not that big, you can make 3 small loaves, and then maybe the other 2 loaves you put them in the freezer, and then you can use them as you need them. But you can make 1 big loaf if you have a big family. So imagine making this bread for yourself, and then you make it every few days, or you make it, it's so affordable to make bread on your own, because if you compare the flour, the cost of buying bread, which is about the lowest amount of bread that I saw is about 11 rand 99, about 12 rands. I get got ShopRite. It's about 12 rands to buy a loaf of bread. Fakumoy. Now when you make it, when I calculate all the ingredients, it's about 5 rand 90 something, almost 6 rands for a loaf of bread. So if you can compare that and imagine that if you make it every week, you make loaves and then you put them in the oven. You put them in the freezer for yourself, for your family. It can work, and it's nicer. The bread that you bake yourself is nicer than the one that you buy. So it's up to you, whatever that works for you. So you are going to do that, and you're going to roll it out. As you can see, I rolled it out, and then I'm rolling it in, but I make sure that it's tight. You must roll it very tight so that it doesn't separate. And this type of bread, fakumoya, it's very soft, and you don't need to even cut it. Usually you just pull it apart. That's how I eat it. I eat this kind of bread because it's so soft. You're gonna have to wait 24 hours if you want to cut it with a knife, because it's so soft it will just fall apart. So you just pull it apart. That pull apart thing, I'll show you once the bread is done. So we are going to put that in the oven. So before that, you are going to oil your baking tin. As you can see, it's a small baking tin. I'm going to make 3 small loaves. So after you put that in a baking tray, you're going to leave it for like maybe 10 minutes while you put your oven on so that it can preheat in the meantime. So I put mine at 150 because I want it to bake slower. And then after like 15 minutes, and then I put it in the oven 150. It's gonna take about 30 minutes or so, 30 to 40 minutes, and it's gonna turn golden brown on top, and then your bread will be ready to consume. It's so delicious. The bread was so delicious. And I also made some bread rolls with the other dough that was left. So I made 2 loaves and one and some 4 bread rolls. You know, I just wanted to see how they're gonna come out. So the bread was delicious and very soft, guys. So I hope you're gonna make this recipe, and please let me know how you find it. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and like the video if you do like it. Thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you loved the recipe. Till next time.